Today's episode is about beam weaponry. Beam weapons are designed to do high damage across multiple systems, but they have reduced damage when passing through shields, and they can't take down shields themselves like lasers can. Generally, when you're using beams, you're using some other tool to take down the enemy's shields, and then letting the beam do heavy damage while the shields are down. They're especially effective with tools like hacking or ion that can just lock down the shields, but they work just fine with sufficient lasers as well. So, for example, we take down their shields with our burst laser here. Now, beams do do damage based on the number of rooms hit. So, most of the time when you're aiming your beam weapons, you want to optimize the number of rooms that you hit. You can see the rooms highlighted with a yellow square around them to show what's being hit here. There's a lot of different ways I could aim this through the ship, but if we want to optimize damage, we'd be aiming it through these 5 rooms here on the side. So it would do 2 damage per room, so it'd do a full 10 damage if we aim it through the side here, like so. So that's quite a good chunk of damage there. Now, there's a few special notes for handling your beam weaponry here. If you are hitting the shields directly, so you're not taking them down first with some other tool. For example, if you're using the Zoltan A to start, it only starts with the halberd beam. It doesn't start with any lasers or whatever to take down the shields. You generally want to aim at their shields first, so that way you can damage their shield, which might lower their shields to do more damage to the other rooms. So, like, in this case, they've got 3 hull left, so if I just, like, say, aimed right here, hit these 2 rooms or whatever, it would not be enough to kill them, because it would only do the 2 damage. But if I aim through here, where we start at the shields, it does 1 damage, and then it does 2 damage to the next side there. So it is enough damage to clear the ship there. Now let's look at another layout here. So there's a lot of different ways you can end up aiming your beam weapons here. So this mini beam, for example, you start with that on the Stealth A ship as well as the Stealth C. This can actually hit a lot more rooms than it often looks like it can. For example, on this ship here, I'm going to take down the shields. The mini beam kind of looks like it can only hit 3 rooms, right? Most of the ways you would aim it would only hit 3 rooms, like so. But if you aim it just right, you can actually hit 4 rooms here. It's a little precise, but there you go. You can see that hitting all 4 rooms. It could also be easier to aim your beam weapons if you're moving the mouse cursor far away from the beam rather than up close. Gives you a little more control of where the beam's aiming. But as you see, 1, 2, 3, 4 hits all 4 rooms there. So that can do very good work as well. Let me give them a minute to repair their shield so I can show off something else here. The specifics of beam weapons here are that they're going to do 1 less damage per shield they pass through. So we've already seen what they do when passing through 0 shield. So, for example, if the halberd passes through 1 shield, it's only going to do 1 damage. And if it passes through 2 shields, it's going to do 0 damage. So if you watch this here, we're going to do 1 damage, then 1 damage here. Now it does no damage to these rooms because their shields are already back up all the way. This means it's really important to time your beam fires carefully. You want to make sure you have something that takes down their shields and then boom, follow right up with the beam weaponry. If you have your beams on auto fire, they'll do almost nothing. So you really don't want to use auto fire for your beam weapons there. Now, there's a lot of ways you can get creative with aiming your beams. Usually you want to aim to do as much damage as possible, just hit as many rooms as possible. So for example, on this ship, we'd be looking at hitting the halberd through these 4 rooms or something like that. But sometimes you want to prioritize specific systems. So, like, for example, if I wanted to hit shields, weapons, and cloaking on this ship, I actually can if I aim it just right. So there's a lot of ways you can get creative with aiming your weapons there across the ship. Some examples of a situation where hitting other systems is important. If you're using ion weapons to take down their shields, and you want to make sure those shields stay locked down, you'll probably want to prioritize hitting cloaking, even if that means hitting fewer rooms, for example. Another thing to talk about here is how the fire beams and the anti-bio beams work. They work a little bit differently. Rather than strictly being based on the number of rooms hit, they're actually based on the tiles. So if you notice, each of these rooms is divided into either 4 or 2 tiles. If we just target the fire beam up through here, that would be hitting 5 rooms, but it would only be hitting 5 tiles. Meanwhile, we could actually hit, like, over here, and we're hitting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tiles. So it actually has 2 more chances to start a fire if you aim it over here. Of course, the systems are important too. You might want to start fires in their shields so they can't repair them or things like that, but those weapons work a little bit differently, so that's just important to keep in mind. But yeah, so beams are a powerful tool, and hopefully this will help you use them more effectively.